the nature of data science and secondarily perhaps AI is one of experimentation, right? We have to run through lots of loops. We have a hypothesis, we test it, doesn't work out, we try some new things. And so we've got kind of I think a cultural and organizational challenge in the sense that the organization is right to ask of its AI leaders to demonstrate return on investment and to have an idea of how AI projects are going to contribute to the strategy of the organization. And that doesn't always line up with how you're going to do that. How you're going to do that might look like a very messy black box. And so I'm wondering if you've got any specific strategies that have worked, have the leaders that you've worked with that have created that space for experimentation used a particular approach that you think worked well, and why did it work well?
Yeah, so it's funny because I sit at this weird intersection of technology and strategy, and how much I veer towards one side is heavily dependent on who I'm speaking to rather than my own personal, skills or bias. I think I sit squarely in the middle. And in product, we have this really great concept of CI/CD. I know it exists in engineering as well, but in product, it's perhaps even more of a novel concept, which is the idea that you have your business as usual, your continuous development. And these are things that just need to happen for the organization to exist and succeed. And I think AI already plays a very strong role here. This is the workflow automations you see, this is the time savings. There's a lot of benefit that can be immediately realized from transforming the BAU. Then there is the continuous innovation. And what I see too many people, especially if you want to call it AI, if you want to call it data science, it doesn't matter. But anyone that's working with abstract technologies, too many people get stuck in the CI bucket, which is they only focus on innovation and they only focus on these things that sound cool. And they forget to think about the practical benefit of what they're doing. And so, one of the things that I've always done that's been really effective for me as a leader is split my team's workload into a pretty decent balance of CI/CD. And when we're working with a technology we don't understand, it might be, 70% innovation, 30% business as usual. And then as we understand that technology and we have more use cases, that 70% might become 60, and then 50, and then 40. And then most importantly is we use tried and true methodologies and frameworks to track our progress. For example, if we agree with the business on OKRs, we then track back to those OKRs. Just because something sounds fun to do doesn't mean we go and do it. We track back to those OKRs. And if we need to have a conversation on shifting those OKRs, we do it early and often, where we can tell the business, actually, this hypothesis going into it really didn't make any sense, but we think we can generate even more bang for our buck with this other OKR. Does this something that aligns
Mm,
back to your strategy? How does this ultimately roll back up to the goals of the business? And I think having those open and honest conversations, having the metrics, having the data, but also having a blended pipeline of work allows us to stay cutting edge while still delivering that value and doing the less sexy things.